transfers that happen with midwives, whether or not they happen before the baby is born, after the baby is born, whatever. Something I'm noticing is that a lot of people say, well, my midwife was awesome. Even after we had to transfer, she stayed by my side the whole time. Yes, I'm never going to speak on behalf of an entire group of people. I'm sure there are a lot of midwives out there who are just so supportive and emotionally invested in the idea of you having a baby and wanting to see it, that they will accompany you because they just want to be there for you. But you also have to remember these midwives have already established relationships with these hospitals, and most of the time they are not good relationships. They are negative relationships. And if you have a midwife sitting by your side at a hospital after she has transferred you, whether your baby was born and you're there for postpartum hemorrhage because your baby needed help transitioning, even if she transfers you mid-labor, if she doesn't have admittance rights at that hospital and she comes in and tries to stay by your side the whole time, there is a greater chance that they are there to act as a watchdog to prevent the hospital from telling you the information that you need to know. They are there to prevent the hospital from saying things like, we deal with this from her all the time. They don't want you to get the information that you deserve. And that's why they sit there and they watch over you the whole time. We like to think that it's this beautiful, romantic, emotionally invested idea, but they are there to get paid. It's their job. They want to make money. And if you go to a hospital and you hear from the hospital, like, this should have never happened in your labor, this should have never happened in your labor, this is why your baby is on cooling now, this is how she knew before your baby needed cooling that your baby was gonna need cooling. They don't ever want you to hear that information, because that information is how you get empowered to stand up against them.
It's the hovering of midwives. We called that. Yep. That's actually what my parents referred to it. The way that she hovered, how she pushed my mom out of the way to get into the C-section, how she sat in the room with us, the things that she did, like checking on us. She wasn't checking on us. The way she checked on my family, the stuff that she was doing it's a hovering. It's not a cared for. It's not real compassion. It's not real feeling. It's making sure that you're not getting the information and making sure you're not giving the information either. So you're not sharing the parts that the doctor will go, what? She did what? She told you what? Like, because that's some of the stuff I didn't hear about it until my postpartum appointments. When I actually asked the doctor at 2 weeks and all this stuff, I actually asked him what happened. I didn't know what actually happened. I had no idea what happened, not a clue, because she was lying to me so much. And unfortunately, we create a bond that goes on for months. Now we go in and we have these people that we've met for like a day, a few days, whatever, that are around us, and we don't know them, not like our midwife, like how we've known, whatever. So they may give us this fantasy story of what happened to our kid and how our kid was just basically meant to die and that they couldn't save, like it wouldn't have mattered. But the reality is it's their way of covering for what's going on. And some women do believe it. Yeah. Yeah. And it's some people, oh yeah, they don't want you to, mine ask, are you going to get an autopsy? Like they ask certain questions and certain things at the time, mentally you're a mess. You're not really thinking about it, but they are there. They are hovering because they need to know what you're going to tell the hospital. They need to know what you're going to what's going to be put in the medical record. They need to know, are you going to get a lawyer? Are you going to turn this into the state? These are things that we call this hovering because that's what they do. They hover around you, fill your head with more stuff. This is what happened. This is what happened. Please believe me. Don't believe the doctor that you met 5 minutes ago. And so that's what it was. She tried to fill. And when I didn't fit into her story anymore, and I started to push back where I was like, I can't believe the things that you say, whatever. That's when she cut me off. She just disappeared. Bye. I didn't believe it anymore. And then that's when I started hearing from medical people, from people on the outside, like, what happened? I gave my records to people and said, what happened? What is your version of this? Tell me. And I gave it to multiple people, and I gave it to attorneys, and I did all these things. And guess what? Everybody came back with the same story. Every medical person I've ever given it to came back with the same thing, which was completely different than what she had told me. And all the things that she told me was normal, natural, was not normal, natural. Overdue is not normal. It's not safe. It is not safe. So there was a lot of things. And that's what I think about when they have I hear my midwife is so loving and so supportive. Even afterwards, she was right there with me. And again, I'm sure there is some that, yeah, they probably are supportive, and they probably did, whatever. And sometimes I've seen midwives cry over different things or whatever. And I'm like, okay, maybe they do have a human side to them, maybe they have a conscience. But the reality is we are still part of their business. And if you're not allowed to speak about what happens afterwards, that says a lot about who was next to you during your care. And one of the things I notice is even women that go in and get a C-section, and they don't lose their baby, but their baby lives, but they transferred. A lot of those women are not allowed to share that they went in from a home birth to get a C-section. That's just one thing. Like, I can actually tell you that I didn't know anybody that had a C-section from a home birth when I was in the birthing community, because they really don't want you to know about the medical interventions that have happened and that can make life-saving changes. That's really very, very hidden. And it's something that I've always wondered, where I'm like, you don't even want to have about the C-section ones that make it. No, they cut us all out. We all get cut out. You only see the perfect ones. You don't get to see the rest. And that's something that's always bothered me about the super supportive, whatever. But yet we can't share about it. And they make sure we don't share about it either, because there's a level of blame that they put on us. This was your choice. This was your rights. This is your body. This is your baby. There's all these things where it's you. So they can kind of wash their hands over here and kind of sweep you under the rug. And that's what I've always noticed about the supportive, whatever. Not saying that people aren't supportive, but I know women that have lost babies when I first got into this before me, and they heard about me and we talked about stuff, and I started making them doubt their own midwife relationship because they were still friends with their midwives. And they were like, you just got a bad one. But as I was sharing things, they started sharing parts about their own situation where they started thinking, oh, maybe I got a bad one too. So this has been going on. This is something that they push on us. And some of them are very friendly, very cozy, and they cozy right up to you and your families, and they love you and they support you and all this stuff. But at the same time, how much are they really loving and supporting? Are they loving you and supporting you enough to try to keep you away from legislators, trying to keep you away from lawmakers, trying to keep you away from reporting them, trying to keep you away from looking into the laws of your state to even seeing if you can file against them, trying to get you to go after, don't go after NARM, don't turn anybody in, don't tell anybody. There's a big secret thing going on with that, a huge thing. And I experienced it from multiple different levels and all over the place, from online and in person. And it's very eerie of thinking about how many women before me and even after me have experienced the same thing. And I think there's people, we've always kind of made jokes about it, but the reality is, talking to other people that have left midwifery or left that natural community, a lot of them are being trained if this is how you handle us, to gaslight us, to twist around our own words and our own thoughts to make us believe this was the natural order and balance of things. So therefore just back away and don't say anything. That's what I've always noticed, is it's sprinkle some dust on there, push it out of the way, and you're gone. You know what I mean? Bye. And then they just go on with their life and their business. Well, and Marissa, I know you have something to say.
Did they all read that ebook? I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, so I know Ange knows this, Danielle knows this, Madison, I don't know if you are familiar with it. There's an ebook that's written by a disgraced midwife turned lawyer, and it's called From Calling to Courtroom. And if you go through it and you read it, it's this guide to how to operate as a midwife with just outside of the laws, I guess, how to make the laws work in your favor. If there are no laws, how to get around that, because even if there aren't any laws, like in Nevada, there's ways to go after like a civil suit. But this kind of shows you, it's
I'm
called,
already grossed out.
yeah, well, sorry, it's early, isn't it?
Oh no, I'll be reading this. I will be reading this. I will be taking notes. I will be bringing this to my lawyer so my lawyer knows what we're up against.
You know what? This is really important that you do. I don't know that a lot of families know about this ebook, but it does. It goes into how to manipulate your patients if you have a loss, how to get your community to support you, and how to get your families to support you, like other home birth families that said, if people are happy with the care that you've given, make sure that everyone knows that after there's a loss. Have them, I guess now even maybe make posts on social media. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing to read, and you realize all that friendliness and all the hovering and the care and all the wonderful things you hear. That's indoctrination. It's a cult.
It's funny that you say the thing about making sure that people go out and say how good the care they experienced with you is, because that's, now I have said my midwife is particularly social media savvy. Everything is a hashtag to her. She actually encourages people who haven't even delivered babies with her yet to get on Google and start writing reviews. If you look at reviews of hers, it's a lot of people being like, I'm so happy that I will be having my baby with these people. And ironically enough, a lot of those comments have reached out to me since their children were born and been like, holy shit, this is not what I signed up for. Because this is, when it comes down to it, it is a choice that we made. And however manipulated and uninformed that choice was, when you are on the opposite end of it, it still was a choice you made. So I do think there's a lot of, even when babies survive, a lot of this was great, this is natural, you made this choice. Any question of any time a parent questions a doula or a midwife, it always comes back to the choices that you made. Some people have been so convinced that like this was your choice and it was all your fault. So if you don't support your choice, you're admitting to everybody you're a bad parent, which isn't the case. You're not a bad parent. Anybody, and that's something I'll say to anyone watching this video who has had home births before, if you had a home birth, if you had a midwife, you had somebody who was telling you you were safe, and they were telling you all of their qualifications and all of their credentials. It is so easy to be led down this path that if you're somebody who has experienced the negative side of midwifery and you haven't come to terms with that yet, nobody who is a lost parent is going to blame you for the choices that you made. And we're not mad at you for how long it took you to come to the realization that maybe your birth wasn't as good as you thought it was. So whether your baby was born yesterday with shoulder dystocia and needed help transitioning and you had prolonged hemorrhaging, or if that happened 5 years ago, if you start realizing that it wasn't a good situation, trust and know that you have a community of people out there who is trying to fight just as hard against the midwives who try to shut us up, to make sure that you have a platform to speak your truth. Because if that's your truth, it needs to be heard.